afternoon. You're listening to Tex Messages, the Resurrection. I'm Tex Man. You could call me for at least the ephemeral future, just maybe just a fleeting moniker, but for the most part, Tex Man seems like an appropriate moniker. And yeah, today we're dealing with a bit of a blizzard outside, so hopefully I'll be able to test out my snowblower, which is basically a pickup truck that you drive on the snow, then it packs it down. That way you can drive vehicles on it. So it's a pretty handy snowblower. I mean, it doesn't technically blow the snow, but it certainly, I guess you could probably say it's a snow compactor. Yeah, it gets a little icy and things of that nature, but I mean, as long as the car can make it in and out, it's not a big deal, and it has achieved its objective. So yeah, super excited for that. Just overall been a fairly busy day, but it's always nice to film these shows in the afternoon. It's a change of pace, there's a new environment, new atmosphere, whatever the case may be. Unfortunately, the sun hasn't been out for a while. It's probably been a good week or so. So I mean, as far as warmth and all that good fun stuff, it's not really providing much of it when it's covered by clouds. So I suppose as far as warming and global warming and all that stuff too, that'll have to take a brief hiatus until the clouds can disperse and allow all the sun to shine. To let the sun shine. So yeah, until we get some more sunlight here, then we'll just have to deal with the winter weather and the blizzard and the excessive moisture that solidified as liquid or as a solid once it freezes and comes down and reaches the ground. Now it does help with insulation properties as well, so there is that to look forward to. But by and large, it's just a necessary ingredient to sort of neutralize all the potential pathogens, poisons, toxins, everything else. It sort of just puts the freeze on everything, and then only the strong survive. Now, usually a lot of toxins, diseases, viruses, fungus, whatever the case may be, we would consider them parasites, like myself. See, I know parasites because I am a parasite. So wintertime eliminates a lot of parasites. Now you may think like, well, why aren't I moving to Arizona or Florida if I'm such a parasite? And if I had the monetary capacity, maybe I'd consider that. But in the meantime, the parasites require a host to exist, and that means that they're not as strong as the host. So when you go through trying times like winter, for example, all the parasites will die off, and the hosts will hunker down. They know what to do, like a tree, for example. Tree comes back year after year after year. Apple tree, pear tree, fruit tree, a maple tree, oak tree, all of them. Pine tree. There might be a few that die off if they're really weak or if they don't have an established root system or their roots didn't get deep enough or whatever the case may be. But by and large, the hosts survive winter and the parasites die off. So it's sort of a way, it's like a freezer, for example. I mean, in a freezer you get a chicken, which you could consider the host. It's what you desire, it's what you plan to eat. You stick that in the freezer, it can sit in there for 6 months or so without all the inherent diseases or E. coli or salmonella growing on it. So, yeah, that's why it's important to go through the freeze-thaw cycle, because then only the strong survive. Now, you would be better, see, it's just, societies are just a lot better off. That doesn't necessarily mean, see, when I use host and parasite, it's not a relative term. There doesn't have to be winners for there to be losers. Or there doesn't have to be losers for there to be winners. I mean, everyone could technically be a host, as long as they're productive, they're self-sustaining, they contribute to society, to their communities, to their Facebook friends, to their relationships, to their environment, to the earth, the atmosphere, the land, earth, water, air, fire, wind. As long as people are contributing, and that pretty much makes them winners, also known as hosts. So once you start getting these entities that want to be lazy and derive support or to derive success out of other people's success without really putting forth any effort, that doesn't necessarily mean just people too. It could also, like the skin parasites and all that stuff too. All that is just, I mean, if you have a society void of any parasites, it's just going to be a stronger community. Everybody's going to work together and achieve more. Everyone's going to be happier. a high tide raises all ships, or a large pie is good for everybody. It's like the animals outside. As long as the animals outside have adequate resources and they're being productive and foraging for their own food and stuff, they're not going to need to kill each other. And they'll be able to work together, have fun, hang out, and do all that stuff. You know, raccoons, chickens, possums, deer, dogs, bears, coyotes, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, they'll all be able to hang out in unity and unison and in harmony. And everybody wins. Doesn't necessarily mean, yeah, the difference between Sasquatch and a chicken is quite significant, but it doesn't necessarily mean that one's a genetic lottery winner and the other's not. They're just productive in their own ways. Some more so than others. Now, yeah, your avenue of productivity is somewhat geared based on your species type, clearly. And, of course, your hereditary skills and what you incline and what you have proclivities upon doing. You know, not a lot of people would want to stand in front of a camera and say stuff. Well, you know, me, I don't really have much of a problem with it. In fact, it's probably, hell, if nothing else I'd be doing that would be any better. So it's when you consider the alternatives, walking around outside, looking at a TV or something, or playing video game. When you consider those alternatives, then standing in front of a camera seems like a misnomer, a no-brainer. So that's why I don't really have much of a problem with it. Plus, it's one of the things that distinguishes humans from other species is their ability to communicate at high levels. Which is why it's important that why humans maintain a consistent level of communication and language amongst themselves. Yeah, I could say, oh, language is culture, this, that, and the other thing. But by and large, it's mostly just a medium for communication from one person, individual, to the other. The chickens, they can have about 10 dozen different sounds that they can make. You know, food, danger, aerial danger, the guy that feeds us, mealworms, delicious, peanuts. They're able to communicate to each other just by a few sounds. Now, yeah, you look at the size of their head, and it's, their brain is probably smaller than a human pinky, so you think that, well, there must not be much cognitive abilities up there. But in all reality, they have enough cognitive abilities. Now, yeah, their movement is more mechanical or digital. It's not as smooth as, say, a cat or a dog or a chipmunk or a human. When the bigger the brain the species have, usually the more smooth their motor controls are. Like a lot of people that get older and don't, they get older and they don't use their systems as much and it starts to decay. Their movements are a lot slower. They talk slower. Sometimes they can't move their fingers at all, or then they start getting swallowing disorders and all this other weird, goofy stuff. And it's just, your nervous system breaking down, your muscles breaking down, your skeletal system, the bone density decreasing. So that's why it's important to just always exercise, just as much. Not all the time, 24 hours, but to just live a balanced lifestyle and exercise things that are important. Like if I'm just going to sit around and stare at, say I paint a wall and I'm just going to watch the paint dry all day, you're not really exercising much, plus you're breathing in dangerous fumes. So that's why it's important to at least contribute somewhat to the online community and hopefully provide some deal of entertainment. And it also exercises your ability to communicate too. So as far as that goes, very important. But speaking of exercise, ladies and gentlemen, so as you know, I hit up a lot of news sites, and medicaldaily.com is one of them, and it's also the site where I pull this valuable information. So they had one article on there, 4 ill effects of drinking soda, and your teeth rot, it spikes your blood sugar, it tastes bad. People will think you're a loser if they see you drinking pop. They're just all obvious signs that we're going to get to the point someday, ladies and gentlemen, where we will need to do a little bit more detailed, deep dive into some subject matter. To say, oh, drinking soda is bad because your teeth rot, it's acid, or it has sugar, even if it's diet, it has acid. All science is always up for debate. There's no question about that. Maybe acid's good for your teeth. But by and large, our current assumption based on relatively credible science is that acid is generally not the best for your teeth. Does that mean you should not drink apple cider vinegar? You certainly want to dilute it, and you probably don't want to just leave it sit on your teeth for a while. And if there are those other valuable health effects that they claim the apple cider vinegar to have, then maybe it's worth it to drink it through a straw or something so it doesn't sit on your teeth for too long. And if you want to make bone broth, apple cider vinegar and water, and then just chicken bones, turkey bones, whatever the case may be, hamburger bone, beef bones, whatever. Just put that all in a crock pot, let it simmer for about 24 to 48 hours, and then you'll have delicious bone broth. You can add some other junk in there, carrots, celery, onions, peas, tomatoes, but yeah, usually just stick a bunch of bones in there, the apple cider vinegar and water, and call it good. And that seems to do the trick. Okay, getting back to the article here, medicaldaily.com. So there, the article is titled 5 Health Benefits to Picking Up and Setting Down Weights. Basically weightlifting, more or less. Number 1, injury prevention. Builds muscle mass and it increases bone density. Now you may think, if you're exercising, lifting weights and all that, say you're squatting 300 pounds, once you translate that into daily living, it doesn't seem to have much practical effect. However, if you have muscle mass that supports squatting 300 pounds, you're going to be able to walk upstairs quite easily. And if somehow a big box falls on you and you grab it, it's not, yeah, it could still land on your head funny and snap your neck and everything like that, then you'd be deceased and shaking the shadow thing. But I mean, ultimately, daily living, daily chores, daily tasks become significantly easier if you have greater muscle mass. And then with bone density too, that's, I mean, as far as injury prevention, it's not, if you slip on the ice and break your hip or something, that probably, it could happen, but I mean, the chances of it are less. Plus, if you lift a lot of weights, you're going to have finer motor neuron control, so your probability of slipping on the ice decreases unless you're wearing really slippery shoes. Then you're pretty much on your own. So, increasing bone density, that's absolutely something you'd like to do. It also builds more neural pathways in your body as well, muscle. Apparently you have a fixed amount of muscle fiber. See, that's why they say builds muscle mass, because you're not actually increasing the cells, you're just building the cell size. Now, one of the appeals of human growth hormone is that it actually increases the number of muscle cells you have. So you grow new cells, which is why a lot of people, bodybuilders especially, get into it. Yeah, it's a pretty spendy habit, and if there's really no other inherent use for it other than cosmetics, then it doesn't really do a whole lot of good. A healthy heart. When you lift a lot of weights and that kind of garbage, you boost your metabolic activity at rest because you're building muscle. You break down the muscle and you're building muscle at rest. So your heart is working just like you were jogging, more or less. And yeah, as far as your resting heart rate, you're going to have a higher resting heart rate than somebody who jogs a lot and weighs 120 pounds. But you'll be able to, your heart will be working, it'll be staying clear of all the plaque and whatever, and you'll be great again. And number 3, burns calories. The more muscles you have, the more calories you're going to burn, just your resting heart rate. But as your body is recovering too, it's also burning the calories. So like if you go to a gym and you just use a treadmill or the Gazelle, the one that Tony Little advertises, and you just run around and get your heart rate up to 130, 140, 180 beats per minute, and do that for an hour, then go home. I mean, you're not really, you broke down some muscle, but not enough that your body is going to need to spend a lot of time to rebuild it. So the time at the gym, you elevated your heart rate, you sped up your metabolism, all that good fun stuff, but you're not going to have the same, it's not going to be the same effects as picking up weights and setting them down as far as your downtime goes. So I mean, if you're trying to lose weight, probably a prudent strategy would be to pick up weights and set them down, and then to watch your caloric intake. Because the stigma with weightlifting, and the reason why there's a stigma with it as opposed to running, you can run and eat a whole bunch of calories. You're not going to gain the mass and bulk that you would weightlifting and eating a whole bunch of calories. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to eat a whole bunch of calories if you're weightlifting, but by and large, most people that pick up weights and set them down, they are eating a lot of calories so that they can pick up more weights and set them down at a more gentle way of putting them down. So there's also that to consider. I mean, see, usually if you do something over and over and over and over again, you want to be more efficient at it. Like for example, if you're lifting a higher quantity of weights at one time, you're more efficient at it. So that's why usually the goal is to lift more weights. But if you have a goal to lose weight, on your own body, usually fat and muscle come off at the same time. Like, it's sort of a ratio. I mean, if you lose 50 pounds, I mean, unless you're completely overweight and obese and all that good fun stuff, then you're probably going to lose muscle mass too. But if you're just mostly fat, you lose a lot of fat, then your body will just overall work better, and then you'll be able to function at a higher level. So yeah, for weight loss, just as long if you're eating a lot of calories too, yeah, you might stay the same weight, but you're just gonna replace the weight replace the weight you lost through fat with the muscle. So it's a pretty decent trade-off. Diabetes, keeping your metabolism high improves insulin sensitivity, keeps blood sugar lower the more muscle you have. So type 2 diabetes, it's pretty helpful in that. And then of course mental well-being, a reduction in anxiety. Pretty much anyone who exercises in any capacity, running, swimming, jogging, biking, weightlifting, rowing, curling, ice skating, they know that after they complete the activity that they feel better about themselves. Now yeah, you might feel sore the next day or even later on in the evening, but by and large it definitely increases your mental well-being, your mental health and all that stuff too. So some might even say it's an addiction, which for some it can certainly be. I mean, for example, food, eating, and sleeping, it's something that just what everybody does every single day. Now, would you call it an addiction? Probably not, because it just seems to be a necessity. And that's about how I see picking up and setting down weights. It's more of a necessity than an addiction. Now, yeah, I mean, I only do it 2 or 3 times a week, so it's not like getting carried away 5-6 days a week, shooting up human growth hormone and insulin all day and popping some pills and all that. So, I mean, as long as you're reasonably smart about it, you keep track of your calories, your protein, and all that, then it's a good activity to have for a few hours a week too. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've come to the conclusion of this show. We're glad to have you here on this Saturday afternoon, December 1st actually, first day of December. Appropriately, we got a bit of a blizzard outside, so for December it's sort of an expected outcome, or it's sort of an expected beginning to December. So that being said, we salute you, the ladies and gentlemen at home. Hopefully you'll join us for the next episode, God willing, and good night.